Peace and blessings, guys. It's the Queen of Spades coming at you. And I wanted to discuss a couple of different things today. So, the first thing I'm going to talk about in this video is prejudices and how I've experienced and observed people being prejudiced against many different things, whether it's someone else's way of thinking or their view on how they feel about others and their views on other things, how they feel about someone else's spirituality or someone else's religion or someone else's way of life. These different things a person can be prejudiced about, where an individual is concerned. And it kind of is sickening to an extent because everybody has free choice, free will, and is allowed to be their own person, be who they want to be in this lifetime or the next. And so it always baffles me to run into a person that feels like if you don't believe or think or move or live how I live, then you're wrong. Your way of thinking is wrong. And so this particular woman, I actually met her. She's a mother of children at my children's school. And she's in a type of Christianity that's probably the most extreme Christianity I've ever seen. Because I had never heard of a Christianity where the people there, in the congregation don't believe in wearing jewelry. The women, they don't believe in wearing jewelry. They don't believe in wearing any type of makeup, nothing on your lips, no color. And they don't believe in wearing pants, only skirts, things like that. And so I don't have any judgment against, that particular religion or way of life or practice. To each his own. Like you do what resonates with you, what feels right for you. I wouldn't necessarily choose it for myself, but I don't knock it for people who choose that lifestyle. However, she, on the other hand, we did business together. And, she actually expressed during, those times that we were, right around each other, discussing the business that we're both involved in. She would make these kind of snide remarks or find very humorous things, I guess, to her to laugh about where she was talking about this couple that was a lesbian couple. And she was saying that one of the people in the relationship wanted to do business with her also. But then something came up and they ended up adopting. And so when she went to her to try to do business with her, one of the ladies was saying, well, I'm going to have to wait now to do business with you because we have a child now. And so most of our, funds go towards, this new child that we have, this baby that we have. And she got so upset at that. She's like, and that's why they're going to stay broke and they're never going to get any money. They're never going to have anything for themselves. And That's why God is going to punish them, because they don't have no business being together. You know, God meant for man and woman to be together, and they're two women, and they're going to get punished, and they're going to receive God's judgment and his wrath as a result, because they're not living right and this, that, and the other. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to her, and I'm not really saying anything at all because I don't agree with those types of views at all. I feel like everyone's at liberty to choose what lifestyle is more befitting for them. Whether or not I actually would choose the lifestyle for myself or not has nothing to do with me. Like, that is, it's your prerogative to choose whatever type of lifestyle resonates best with you. And whatever my choices are and decisions are have nothing to do with the next person. That's just how it is. So, she went on and on about that. And, there were times where so is your name Muslim? Wow. So, what do they do in when they're worshiping? She's laughing at these different things, like just the thought of, I guess, it being, weird or different from the way that she lived. But I mean, there's things that people could laugh at about her. Like, for instance, I don't walk around with a full blown mustache, over my lip. But maybe in her lifestyle, that's okay. So that's just, I feel like when you're looking at others and judging others, there's always something for someone to judge about you too. So be careful with that, because nobody is just scot-free to the point where, some people may not have, people won't have something to say about the next person. So I thought that was very interesting. Her viewpoints, or, how she looks at other people. But she can't see herself. She looks at other people so much to the point where she can't see herself. She can't see how ugly she looks. Not physically, but spiritually. But it's just crazy, because if you can take the time to look at others, then you should also be able to look within at yourself. But I really feel like she feels as though there's nothing wrong with what she does and how she does it. I feel like that's how she thinks, because she feels like she's covered by the blood of Jesus. And so therefore, she can be however she wants to be where others are concerned. She's covered, she's protected, and everyone else that's not within the confines of her religion is not covered or protected, which is horseshit. So that's how I feel about how she feels about things. So on another note, her children go to school with my children. And, at some point, I got down sick, and I asked her if, she could pick up the children and drop them off, at my house for me. And hubby's working, so he can't really get off to go and pick up the children at the time that, they get out of school. So and I'm sick. So it's not like I can drop hubby off and go. I'm like sick to the point where, it's best for me to stay home. I think I was showing signs of like even flu like symptoms at the time because there was a lot of coughing and nausea and headache and sneezing. And so it was just best for me to stay home. And I think me and hubby had paid her for the week to pick up the children, a little something, for her to pick up the children and drop them off to me. The first day that the one of the days that she had picked up the children, I think it was like a Wednesday or a Thursday of that week. And she picked them up, and she knew that I was homesick, but she tells the children as she arrives home, tell your mother that I have to use her restroom. And she's like maybe 10, 15 minutes around the corner from me. And so I'm like, well, I'm in my pajamas. Like, it was just ridiculous. I was laying down. I was drinking a hot cup of tea. She was like, well, just put on a house coat. I'm not going to be here long. I just got to use the restroom and then I'm going to go about my way. So I really did not feel like entertaining her or anyone else because I wasn't feeling well. But at the same time, I didn't want her to piss on herself either. So I allowed her to come in and use the restroom. And she came in. She went to the restroom. Her children came in with her and my children as well. And she spent about maybe 15, 20 minutes in the restroom. Then when she finally came out the restroom, she decides to carry on a conversation with me about nothing at all, really. Nothing that she couldn't talk with me about over the phone or even talk with me at a later time, about. But she decided to start this conversation with me. And I can't even remember what the conversation was about. That's how unimportant it was. But she stayed talking with me for about at least an hour and a half. And I'm the type of person, I like to see just how far you go. And sometimes people think that because you're not necessarily speaking on a thing outwardly, that either they got away with it or you're just stupid and just don't see them for who they are. But for me, I see clearly, I see very clearly. And I was just observing her really as she talked. And she's, trying to like look everywhere. I have altars all around my house. She's looking, at my altars, and she's trying to also maintain the conversation so it doesn't look like she's nosy. But I mean, she's a nosy ass bitch. So that's what it is. That's what she's always come off as. You can't hide that that factor. That's just what she is. And I'm watching her as she's watching my surroundings and my environment. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, game on. Because I felt like it was a purposeful attempt to intrude. Not to mention in the car rides, either home or to school, my children would mention how she was asking all types of questions about me or my husband. Are they going to work today? Who's coming to get them? Or are they driving today? Or is someone going to pick them up and take them to work? Or is your mother going to have the car? Or is your father going to have the car? Like stuff like that. That's really none of your goddamn business. If I didn't volunteer the information to you, then it's none of your damn business how we do what we do unless I'm including you in that and asking you to help on some level or another with the execution of these types of plans. So I thought that that was mighty funny that she was going to my children and asking them these things. But she never once mentioned any of these things to me or my husband. So I thought that was a little funny. And when they told me that she was asking these things, I immediately went to her and I said, yeah, the children were saying that you had some questions as to, me and my husband and how we're getting to work. Am I driving? Is someone picking him up or taking him home and all types of stuff? And I just want to let you know that those types of questions you would come to me about. Because my children don't know the answers to those questions. They have no clue what happens with us once they go to school. They have no clue whatsoever. So to ask them this lineup of questions as to, what's going on with us and what we're doing, I thought that was typical of her as a nosy ass person. And I thought it was typical of her, to try to take advantage of the situation and get as much information from my children as possible. So when I brought it to her and asked her, did you have plans to like pick us up and take us somewhere or something? Some plans that I didn't know about? Did my husband ask you to pick him up and take him somewhere so that I can have the car or something? Or did you have an impression that I needed to go somewhere or something, to that effect? And she was like, oh, no, nobody said anything to me about, taking him anywhere or anything like that. I was just asking the kids, if he had a way to work. And I said, well, why? Are you trying to take him to work? Did you want to pick him up and from work and bring him home? Like, I'm trying to find out why you needed to know that. And she's like, well, no, I can't pick him up or take him anywhere today. I probably could tomorrow, but I got to go to work today. And I'm like, okay, because I'm just trying to find out why you're asking these questions, unless you're going to be the one to pick up and drop off, from to and from work. I'm just trying to figure things out here. And I'm furthermore trying to figure out why the questions were asked to my children as if they would know the answers when you should be talking to me. So it was just crazy. She explained it away, and I explained to her, when you want to know something, then you're going to want to come to me and ask me that question, not my children, because they don't know the answers. So we hung up having that understanding. The very next day, it was Friday. And this was the last day that she was to pick up my children from school and bring them home. And so she brought them home. And she says to one of my children, she's like, tell your mother that I need to use the restroom again. And I had already determined that after that first time, she got off with that one, but it would never happen again, because you got some other motives and intentions behind wanting to come into my house and I don't appreciate the intrusion. So not only did I do magic on that ass, but when she tried to come back the second time and say, tell your mother, um, I need to use the restroom again. I didn't care how ridiculous the reasoning was. My goal was to let her know, like, I'm not playing with you. And so I will say the most ridiculous thing to let you know that it may not be true what I'm saying, but you're not bringing your ass up in here. And so I asked my children when she asked them to ask that, can she come in to use the restroom? I said, am I on speakerphone? They was like, yes, ma'am. I said, oh, okay. Yeah, you can't come in this time to use the restroom. Oh, I'm only going to be a couple of minutes. Yeah, no, the toilets are broke. All of them. They're all broke. So now she's like silent, like, what? Yeah, they all broke. All of them. So, you can't come in to use my toilets if they're not working. You can't come in to see if they're working because there's no reason for you to come in at all because I'm not going to allow you to come in to my space ever again. So I'm like, yeah, they broke. They all broke down. So she was like, well, I'm only a few minutes away from home anyway, so I guess I'll just wait till I get there. Yeah, that's best. Because, like I said, they all broke here. So it was hilarious because it's one of those things like you can tell that somebody just pulled that out their ass and made that up. And that's how much I didn't really care that she knew it was a lie. I didn't want her in my presence, and I was determined to keep her out of my safe haven, my sacred space, which I do consider my home a sacred space. And she had no place here. And the first time when she kind of forced her way in, that was the first and the last time. I allowed it, but now, after the first time, it's starting to look a little bit like a pattern. So since you want to play with me, not only can't you come in because all my toilets are broke, but I'm going to hex that ass real good for you. And you're going to want to stay away from me in my home. And that's what I did. So, basically, after that situation, basically, that was a Friday, that second time that she asked to come over. That was the last day that she was asked to pick up my children. And after that, I had gotten better. I had healed up. And I never needed her to pick up my children again. And even if I did ever need her to pick up my children again, it would never be her ever again. Because I don't deal too well with people like that. And I'm not even going to try. Because I don't have to. So, it was just crazy. It's like, she had asked, well, can your children come over to my house and play with my children there? I'm like, my children don't normally go over to other people's houses except family. And that's a sometimes thing, and I'm there with them. But you're asking me to allow you to pick up my children from my home and come to your house and just be over there with your crazy ass. Like, I don't like your energy. I don't really like you as a person, as an individual, because I don't like your energy. I don't like the energy that you give off. Why would I entrust in my most precious assets, my most precious jewels, which are my children, living, walking, talking human beings, breathing beings that I care for and provide for, me and hubby. Why would I just allow them to go anywhere with you? And I don't trust you. So that was a definite no. And that situation, that question was never even a thought again after that, because it was always going to be no. And basically, after that last time that she picked up my children, she was cut off. Like, she was never asked to pick up my children or take them to school ever again. And as far as the business that I was doing with her, that was cut off too. She attempted to call me. I didn't answer. I didn't feel no need to. That was pretty much the end of that. About a year or so after that, my children, as summertime is over, back to school time, and her children are there also. And at some point, her daughter, a cute, nice little girl, wanted to know if my son, one of my sons, my youngest son, possibly wanted to, have a boyfriend girlfriend relationship with her, in which he considered her a friend, but she's also a really good person, and so he considered the latter of going ahead and being boyfriend and girlfriend with her. And even throughout their little relationship, yeah, I monitored very closely, but you could barely tell that I was even around monitoring or observing anything. Her mother, on the other hand, she was so intrusive. It was like not the energy like a parent just kind of like looking over her child in this situation. It was more so like to be nosy and intrusive. Like, the girl may be talking to my son on the phone. The mother will snatch the phone and be like, talking to my son. And I'm like, that's odd. Like, parents don't normally do that. We may observe, we may sit and observe things, but we don't necessarily be like, well, let me talk to your boyfriend. Like, I think that she's just a weird individual personally, and not in a good way, because I'm weird too, but I'm weird in a good way. She's not. And it just like it was a very controlling situation. She allowed the little girl to call certain times. They don't have like phones or electronics around in their home. So the only people that have a phone is the woman and her husband. The children don't have their own phones, which is fine. Some parents, choose to, basically have it set up where, their children don't have access to a phone or whatever, because they don't necessarily want like, a certain mindset of people being able to call and have access to their children. So that's understandable. They were not allowed to listen to the radio or watch TV or anything like that, and that's their parents' choice too. Even though I think it's a bit extreme, it's her parents' choice to, have that set up that way. But yeah, so it just was a weird situation. I remember also that her daughter reached out to my son, called him up, and my son was asleep. So about 10 or 15 minutes later, when he woke up, he reached out to the girl, and her mother was like, first of all, calls stop at, I think she said like 9:30 or 10. And she was like, so please do not call her past that time again. But when I looked at the time that her daughter called my son, it was already past the 9:30 p.m. and the 10 p.m. mark. She called him around like 10:15, 10:20. My son called back around 10:30. So I really wanted to have some choice words with her, but it was only because my son felt like it would destroy his relationship with the girl, that I would ruin their relationship if I said anything, that I decided to keep quiet. But I was going to walk up one side of her ass and down the other. And even more so as days go by, I regret not doing it. But at some point, she had the little girl to text and to call my son and tell him that she wanted to break up with him and that they could just be friends because my son is not of the same religion as them. And so the little girl was emotional. My son was a little emotional. I felt like that was one of those things that didn't have to happen. That I felt like that was unnecessary heartbreak for them. And once again, she had intruded on a situation. Parents can tell their children, right from wrong. They can tell them their viewpoints and opinions and facts on different matters and things like that. But it's like, I feel like we should come from a more just point of view, not just from the point of view of, well, because I'm an adult and I can rule any way I want to. That's why. I feel like it should be a more balanced perspective